It's
Did
really
I tell you
confusing to
why
me.
I went to 23andMe?
Uh-uh.
Is I'm pondering because after Jerry's discovery, pulling us together, uh, wondered whether I am German or French, and so I looked up in my the thing. Flora
British.
in German means floral.
Mhm.
In French, it means floral. So when I saw the 23, maybe I can find out, and it's pretty much an even match.
Yeah. We were
Because
sur-
the Alsatians, we never know, what the dominant gene is.
Well, John, I remember when you were was it Wake Forest, you were
Mhm.
doing the Huguenot research.
We thought for a while we were French Huguenots.
Over?
French Huguenot,
Oh, really?
but it turns out I don't think we are.
Oh, okay. We were farmers, were we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
But-
didn't get that gene. I can't grow anything in my garden.
But I heard the name originally was Fleur, Fleur,
Oh,
and then when migrated to the States, it's hard for Americans to pronounce.
really?
So they just, transmogrified into Flora.
Yeah. Well, that's
And it's just the meaning is the same.
a common problem for the emigres.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Fleur, we were fleur. Okay, I like flora better. I
Yeah,
can
it
pronounce
rolls off the tongue a little bit.
But it's been
Oh, you
fascinating.
don't know how beautiful I feel just seeing some undiscovered, loving family.
Oh, well, likewise. Like I said, it's been a fun week
Yeah,
putting things together.
yeah.
How are you feeling? Okay?
Yes.
Are you? You
Yes.
look pretty chipper and good, rosy cheeks and everything.
Pardon?
You look chipper and have rosy colored cheeks.
Oh,
so you look
okay.
like you
But
feel okay.
no, it's like I was. Did we already tell her this when I went to bed a couple nights ago, ultra sleepy? Is what did I ask?
He said, is it normal for me to feel this happy when I'm getting ready to die?
Well, you're a hospice nurse, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, well, whatever, everything's kind of normal, right,
Yeah.
at the end.
I don't
but,
think I'd question it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy.
That's what I said,
Yeah.
and, he's feeling a lot of big love and giving a lot of big love, so that makes you happy.
Yes. Well, all of these unforeseen friends, the loving friends, they're coming out of the woodwork, And I've told you this before, but sometimes I have to answer their loving comment with, I am still searching for the
Superlative.
superlative of thank you and awesome.
Well,
But you can see, this is where I know I'm slipping, because I've used that word so many times, but sometimes it just becomes kind of evasive, I think it's testing me.
Well, it must be challenging because your mind is still totally there, and sometimes your mouth
Well,
may not
yeah, well,
spit out what your mind wants it to.
it's still there, better than the average bear.
Oh, way better.
But there's nothing
You're sharper than a-
totalitarian about it.
You're
at
sharper than a
all.
lot of 50-year-olds I know.
You wouldn't expect that from an amateur etymologist, would you? Etymologist.
Words.
Is it, words, yeah.
Study of words.
I like the origin of words. Where in the heck did this come from? What did it mean? What does it mean now? How do we use it? I like words.
Well, words are the tools of my trade, so
Yeah.
your vocabulary is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get upset. People are so dumb. they don't realize how dumb they are, which, that's a horrible state, but it's your, and all these things. People will say, you're in charge, Y-O-U-R. That doesn't.
Apostrophes mess people up. They don't understand the combined words.
So you're a
To me,
This
yeah,
is
they look
just-
a lot.
This is so sweet because Jerry, I can't remember what
Voltaire.
page it was on there.
Oh,
But,
it's the back page.
Oh, the back page
I-
that, is it a note maybe? Maybe the note is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
Dad,
bet you would recognize some of those.
Dad
Maybe
had,
some
you had
authors.
given that to your father,
Yeah,
is that right?
yeah,
And then later Jerry said, this should come back to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
From Joe and Max,
Wow.
Right?
1934.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gave
Well,
it to your dad in 1934.
That was probably the last we met, because that was when they moved to Tennessee.
So how old
I
were
think
you in 34?
32 or 33.
Or you were 9.
Huh?
You were 9 years
No.
old in 34.
Oh, and was the third,
I think that's what it says, yes.
Okay.
So Max was like 7. How much older were you than Max?
huh?
How much older were you than Max?
5 years and
So
one
he-
day.
So he
I
was
was
4.
born August 1st, he was born August 3rd.
Wow.
5 years apart.
Did you
They
have
were-
2 birthdays, or did
No.
you have one big birthday
Oh,
party?
no, we had one, trying to get in the middle as close as we could.
August 2nd.
Yeah, and Jerry is 7 years younger than I am. So we're but I used to go walk down Main Street in Flora. You know, they lived on the east side of the street on a corner, and I would go there and pet the dog. And
Now, we heard that you lived across the street from him.
no.
Oh, so you weren't that close.
Oh,
You
no,
were-
I was still living with the Chitticks or,
Oh, the
uh,
family that you
yeah.
saw the picture.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
we called them family. They were just dear friends that accepted us. And my father would pay them, you know, whatever, the upkeep money. So, no, but I walked all over town, you know.
So you would go and you'd pet the dog, but you never really saw your dad?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you would?
I'd go in and see Jerry and Lydia. Was it Lydia?
Lydia, uh-huh.
Okay. And I just naturally just went, you know, I think that's when somebody brightened my people at, and so I guess I wanted to go being a people person, just walk in and say hi, you know.
What was the relationship like with Lydia? Do you remember her at all?
Yes, and years later, in the early 1980s, I would see her in the care home, in the Baptist care, because Aunt May, who's not my aunt, was in there, and I would see Lydia coming to visit somebody, and of course, my father was gone then,
Right.
and she had moved back from Tennessee to Flora. I guess she had 2 homes, you know. Flora was still the base of their.
For Lydia?
Yeah.
'Cause I know she was in Florida, I thought, in
Oh,
the 80s.
could be.
Yeah, she was living in New Smyrna Beach,
Oh.
because every summer we would go down. She had a condo on the beach, and then some families, my family, the Warrens, and some other friends and family would go to another condo about 2 buildings down every summer for 2 weeks, and the kids, we'd play in the ocean, the pool, then we'd go visit, we
Oh.
called her Nanny,
Okay.
and we'd go visit Nanny, who was Lydia, And she lived there alone for a long time, and then moved. As I recall, and I may have missed something, but she moved back to Kingsport, and was in a nursing home in Kingsport at the end of, when she was getting old and a little bit Alzheimer's.
Lydia, what did?
Mhm.
I didn't know she was in that.
Yeah, she died in Kingsport.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
So I saw her on her frequent visits.
Yeah, she was probably visiting Flora.
Yeah.
Maybe she still had a home. I don't know.
A lot of
But
family.
ours, I would call casual. I probably didn't expect that we would have a hugging relationship. I don't know why. Probably because of me. I don't give in easily.
Well, it's interesting that she would have seen you, and we still didn't know anything about that you even
Oh, no,
existed
she
in those
knew.
years. Yeah, she never told us.
Uh,
So I think that's kind of interesting.
yeah. And
But we figured it out.
I think it was Jerry that spotted me at the casket at our father's funeral, because I became a different person that day, because I was able to lean over and say in normal voice, "I forgive you." Because I felt abandoned.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Did you know, when you were growing up, did you know Stan? Did you know about his other family?
No,
Did you know that they even existed? Or that
No.
there was a first family?
no, had
So-
no idea.
When did you find out about Stan? And do you know the first wives?
Well, I think it was
Helen, I think.
2001. Was it about that time? I'm sitting in the living room in Fort Collins, and I get this phone call. "Is this Joe Hoberman-Flora Hoberman?" I said, "Yes." It was Jerry, and he had gone to the end of his search for me, and he's the one that we got together. And then you see that picture of where the four of us are.
Right.
And we had a reunion. But,
So that was the first time you met Stan?
that
was-
was, yes.
Was? Okay.
Yeah, but Jerry and Donnie drove down and were in a motel to see us, and then we would have our meals together, talk half the night, and then go on. And that's when Jerry decided we need to have a reunion, that there are more that you don't know.
Yeah.
And so it was Stan and his wife.
Physically from him is, the story that Mom gives is that all of the kids, between he and Lydia, were always wanting something like, well, when you die, can I have that? Can I have that? And Mom was supposedly the only one that didn't, ask for anything. And I guess he really liked diamonds, and she said he wore diamond rings, which was a little bit unusual for a man, but he, for whatever reason, he had this pinky ring with a diamond in it, and he took it off and he gave it to her and said, you're the only one that hasn't asked for this, I'd like you to have it. Well, he actually gave it to Dad, and that's what Dad proposed to Mom in. And after Dad died, Mom took the diamond out and she gave it to me. So this is your Dad's diamond that I still wear.
Oh
It's
my
the only connection I have with him.
Right.
Yeah.
I just had a gold band that'll be sitting here, and it was falling off. So I had to give it up. But I have worn that for 60-some years, and I never wanted to part with it, It's like those old trite sayings that are very important to me. Suzanne is gone, but will never be forgotten, and this is kind
Well,
of.
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
treasured by
Yeah.
whoever.
My husband.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why he was pointing towards me, because he said, if that fits you, and Mark put it on and said, it fits. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
when did you lose Max?
1901.
No, 2001.
Your brother?
To say that, wow, he was
Only
older than
100
you.
years off.
We knew that wasn't right, but was it 2001? That does seem about right.
I think between then and
Oh,
2005, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So what happened?
But I was half right.
Yes, you were. That's right. That counts.
Uh,
Were you close with Max?
No. We
Really?
were, as children, you will see pictures there that nobody could come to that young man because I am his older brother, his protector. I do remember one thing, I can't shake it, but somehow or another, I guess maybe I was on the sideline of a conversation about where the boys will go. And it must have been some problem of what two is too much. And somehow or another, I said, they're not going to break us up. So in my dream, we ran away because I did not want to share him with anybody. We are brothers together, you know. I was probably, what, 8, 9 years old, yeah. And but we have a lot of pictures of the two. I'm always right there with him, usually with a arm around him or on his shoulder.
You found more?
Yeah, I found some more. Yeah.
When you went to the military, what did he do? Did he go to college and?
That's exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Look
he
at it.
did. He went to college, and he is a race buff. And we were in Indianapolis, and so he knew a lot of the people, you know, were tuning out their cars in the garage down the alley. And he was there, and he got so immersed in that, and they would let him drive around
He
the
often-
Indy, yeah, and well, when it was empty,
Yeah,
yeah.
so he
And
was, just kind of a little character.
anyway,
was
he
definitely
got
known for that one time.
unofficial
Yeah. Yeah.
Same as he looks- is it when
withdrawal
he's younger?
failures, and so
His
he
face is
lost
longer
that
than his older
semester.
is longer.
Okay.
He just
In the middle, it's a little
abandoned
bit
school,
rounder.
and then
Yeah.
he went to
Yeah.
Korea. He was in the Navy.
I can
Okay.
He was
relate
a
to
telegrapher.
It's all of them.
Telegrapher,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And then when he came back, what was his career?
Water. He gravitated to California and Nevada and so forth, and got into the irrigation business, where they would sell either the architectural stuff, or they would level it. They would do everything so that they could farm it effectively. Yeah.
Okay.
Is
And
this Max?
Yes.
I forget where all the places were, but Suzanne and I visited several times to him and Dolores, who is Delo, or D. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we were, but Max would not accede to my absolute statements. Is you're gonna drink yourself to death. And I said, I quit so many years ago, and I feel like a different person, and so forth. So knock it off. That's life wasted, I have found. And the more it got there, because he would always stop by probably for 5 or 6 shots of whiskey, and I'm a drunk, I'm an alcoholic and so forth, and I found that harder and harder because he would not accede to joining me on my path, you know. Did
Well-
I tell you I just celebrated my 60th anniversary of AA?
Wow,
February 5th was
that's
my,
amazing.
1958 was my first meeting, yeah. I
Good for
just
you.
figure you work hard, you play hard, everything's fine. Well, the medical director at Illinois Bell Telephone straightened me out on that.
Well, it's interesting in our family, and I can't help but think that we have a little bit of addiction in our family, if
Yes.
not a lot, between, hearing about your past and Max's and of course Jerry's. And, I think Doc, your dad, from my understanding, may have had a problem with drugs,
Oh, he
being a
did.
physician.
Because Jerry told me that at one time in Kingsport, in that part of his life, he could no longer, his partner had to issue the prescription because he was
He
not
loses
allowed to,
license. Yeah.
because of overuse and misuse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I heard that as a kid, and then I didn't hear much more
yeah.
because my dad was a very, I don't know if righteous is the right word, but he had a very strong desire to go to Kingsport and rebuild the family name. And I remember him saying stories about, I'm here because, I want to repair the
Yeah.
reputation that my dad left. So whenever, us kids would get in trouble, I know it weighed on him because he's like, I worked so hard to fix this relationship, and now my stupid kids are
Yeah.
messing it up again.
And you know,
That was perfect.
Of
what
course.
what you just said rests very easily on my mind. It's like I shared your thing in a kind of in a ethereally way, You know each other, but I shared that thought in another county, for the memorial. And I want my name to be Joe Burton-Flora Hoberman on the thing, because that's who I am. And I am so fortunate and so proud to have been included back in that, because I enjoy the joy that being brought into the Flora family has done for me.
Oh, I think you brought us in.
Well, whatever.
You were around long before we were.
Let's just settle on together.
That
Agreed.
works for me. Now, where did Burton? What's the is that a family name on your mom's side, or who was a Burton? Where did that come from?
Mother on her tombstone is Hoberman, but her born name was Beth Vivian Morris. We came, her predecessors came from Wales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But her father was Burton Morris, right?
yeah.
Oh, that was his first name?
Was that his first name?
Wilbur Burton Morris.
Oh, it was his middle name, okay.
I'm glad they skipped the Wilbur.
You did get lucky on that.
But,
We have a picture.
but Max was Max Morris.
Oh, okay.
Flora and then Hoberman, because we do the same that you do. It's a name carryover.
Right.
We don't want to lose the path that got us to where we sit.
Did Max have any children?
Oh yeah, he had one boy,
Hey, they colorized it.
Robbie,
Yeah, I guess so.
and he pretty much that was a poor marriage. This is one of the kind of like its origin was a picnic. Now that's not true, but it's that kind. It's just
It was probably Photoshopped.
and so it didn't last. But Robbie pretty much
Yeah.
gravitated to his mother, and
This is it, though.
I
That's,
ran out of the house and
but
there's a picture on one of the.
very talented young man. The last job that I
Yeah.
heard Max tell me about him, he would go to estate sales in the country, and he would buy barn lumber, and he would make picture frames for them. And I can remember, I just said, really? You know, and Max would tell me, you know, it's not hard to be artistic enough that you can take $300 home after you sell your frame that is specifically made to that person's needs. So he has an artistic bent that he must have gotten from his mother.
Is he still around? Robert? Is Robert still around?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Where does he live?
Someplace in California.
Okay.
We lost contact, even before Max died, because I think he found it rather hard to spend much time with him, because Max's first love was that bottle of scotch, you know, and I hate to see somebody to just denigrate the importance of life. Yeah.
Do you think Max felt the same way you felt about being abandoned?
No.
He was
No.
too young to.
No, his only comment on a piece of paper that you will be taking home is a history that I wrote when I bought a computer. It's about 10 pages long.
Oh, awesome.
And I got lost.
You were talking about Max and how he felt about.
Oh, yeah. I had put on some former letter, I'm talking about me, sort of an autobiography, and I put in there that before he was born, and I gave the story of Dan's death, and you know there was going to be, but my father, I hear from my aunt, and so we went to, I think it was St. Lauderdale, Florida, until she was full term. And he says, "What? My father would do that to me?" You know, he was disgusted, you know.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, and
We were talking on the way up. I'm not sure, you know, if Doc, what kind of person he really was. I mean, did he have a good heart, or?
Yeah, what did they think about him in town?
huh?
What did they think about him in town? Did they think he was a scoundrel?
When in Florida?
In Flora, yeah.
Oh no, no, not at all. He was tall, standing citizen.
Upstanding citizen.
Oh yeah. Well, you know how we feel about professional people.
Well, back in the day, yeah, they had some more
Yeah.
respect, but he certainly had quite a few families that, you know, I'm sure tongues could wag and
No,
yeah, he could get
because
bad reputation.
wasn't there a year or two gap between his first marriage? Because the story I get from Stan is that his mother told him that she worked his way through medical school, and then he's just a
and he was done.
ta-ta.
Thank you very much. Oh,
And then since he was an MD, and my mother was a nurse, that's probably they met in some medical incident and became attracted and married and so forth. So, and that's the way he met Lydia too.
I think she was a secretary or
Yeah,
a clerk or something.
yeah.
wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, and so.
Did she know your mom?
Oh,
Were they in the
yes.
same office?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, that's
Oh my.
Flora saw down, and the
Stratford wives.
it was Euler with a Y.
Yeah, the Oilers.
And they were farmers, but you could live a mile down the Route 18 But if you were Flora, everybody knew everybody. Yeah. And this is the thing. So somebody asked me years ago. So you were born and raised in a little small town? Not small. We had 2,000 people. You know. I said, wow, that must have been something. And I said, listen, let me tell you, you do not, when you mow somebody's yard, you do not damage that tulip. Everybody in town will know. Tell him to be careful when he mows your yard. You know.
Do you have any recollection of grandparents, either Doc's parents or?
Vaguely, yeah.
What do you remember?
Their farm was contiguous to the town limits of Flora. When you step out of Flora into the country, that's their farm. And so I could walk over there before I got a bicycle. Oh, yes. Oh, I have some vivid memories of where they had cows, of course, because, you know, they sold milk and eggs and so forth. But I can remember, it wasn't grandfather, I think this was uncle. But he would take the cow's tit and aim it up, and there would be the cats, about 5 of them in a row. I never saw a drop hit the ground, and I got to run the separator.
Doc's sister was Ada that made the quilts for us.
Okay.
And then
So you knew Ada in
I
Flora.
remember the name.
Okay. That was your dad's sister.
That was your aunt.
Oh,
Aunt
okay.
Ada. Yeah.
That's right.
She was the devout Mennonite.
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
'Cause they were,
She
they were,
wore all that paraphernalia that in Florida you see them all day long, every day, you know. But they distinguish themselves as a person of the church first.
that reminds me of,
Is this your mom's dad?
Yeah,
Yeah. Is that in Flora? Where is this?
Chalmers, Indiana.
Chalmers.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
They colorized
See
it, I
that?
guess. How did the color get on that picture? It
Oh,
was a black and white, obviously.
probably a special request.
Yeah.
I don't know. This probably came from Aunt Ruth
Oh, I bet it did.
or my mother. Yeah.
Did you know him?
No, I've never met him.
Never
He
met him.
was gone before.
Pizza
Uh-huh.
King of Florida.
He was another good drinker,
Uh-huh.
and I think he died of kidney failure at an early age. I hear the story is Dan Perry, who's been a lifelong friend, was a Presbyterian minister, and he could never get Wilbur to come to church. So they sat down one day and he says, okay, let's have a drink and talk about it. And he says, if I can if you can outdrink me, I'll come to your darn church, you know. And he fell flat on his face, and he had to put up, you know, and
Funny.
yeah, and then I think John Chittick and a bunch of guys taught me the proper way to hunt snipe. Did you ever go on a snipe hunt?
I was sent on a snipe hunt. I wasn't successful.
I think it's a part of growing up.
Yeah. I fell for
Another
that.
one what we had, we would be just messing around doing nothing. I'm the little squirt that John Chittick is just kind of looking after, you know, because I was staying with his parents. So we find a pigeon nest, and they would get those tiny blue eggs, and they say, oh, Joe, would you do us a favor? we want to take these because we're gonna raise some pigeons and put them in your sure pocket. The next thing you know, something, I don't believe you. Hey, you cracked all my eggs. I didn't know that that was phase 3 of the.
Now, the last name was Chittig? How do you spell that?
Chittick.
Chittig.
Yeah, I think it is, has a Czechoslovakia,
And it was your Aunt May and Uncle Lauren
Yes,
Chittig?
yes.
That's who raised you. For a while.
and John and Minnie Lou were
Their kids?
Their 2 kids,
Okay.
yeah. And,
Was Max with them or with a different family?
no, we were both together.
Okay,
They never separated us.
okay.
And so, but like I say, in that day, and if I had my way, it will be that way still. You do not call close friends, Mr. Chittick. You treat them as a relative.
Is she in that picture? I just did a search for May Chittick in Flora, Indiana, and that picture popped up.
No, I don't see her. This would be the closest look-alike.
Oh, you know what? Well, they've got their names. Let's see. Okay, May Chittick would be second row, left to right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're right. That's her.
Is it?
That's what it says. M-A-E. M-A-E Chittick. Is that how you
Yeah.
spell her name?
Yeah.
That's her.
Oh my goodness.
What is that from?
I was just Googling. I was trying to find the street where they lived, and it came. It says this is our town, Flora, Indiana, and it's got a picture of the Needlecraft Club. 60th anniversary of the Needlecraft Club, 1973.
Oh, I feel ultra
There you go.
blessed.
That's pretty cool.
Oh my goodness. It wasn't just the closest. Yeah, I just heard from Tally a couple days ago, and I had to straighten the girl out because she was so sorry to hear the news of my demise, you know, and so I have a standard thing, is that don't cry. I had a wonderful family, a wonderful life, and sing a fun song that God let me play all 9 innings. And the end of that is a given. Not everybody gets to play all 9 innings. I remember a saying that I wrote down: do not complain about growing old or older, for many are denied their privilege. I got the privilege. Somehow, I was needed for those extra years, even though you don't write home about anything you accomplished. But I guess I was ready. I'll tell you, that makes me feel so involved. I am indeed. We are all an extremely integral part of the Flora family, you know, and family to me is the leading word of importance of life.
Well, it becomes more important as I've gotten older. You know, I've
Absolutely.
realized that life is short, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm glad John has been doing these kind of recordings. Now there's a lot more recognition of things like PTSD and a lot of the psychiatric problems veterans have. Do you feel like you had any of that coming back?
Yes.
It just wasn't,
I have made
wasn't
comments.
popular at the time.
Is that I feel fortunate in my war, we didn't have that. And I think it was Steve that told me, yes, you did, you didn't know
Didn't know the name of it.
initials.
Yeah.
But you had night terrors when you came home
Oh, yeah, yeah.
for years.
My mom would gently take my shoulder and say, "Wake up, honey, wake up," because I would be screaming. But I was many times either the first or the second scout, so I have no connection with the yelling. But it's kind of like all of a sudden, out of the blue, came a squad of Germans, and so that's get down. When you see them and they see you, you can yell. your visual came into folks, so you don't have to sneak by quietly, you know. And I think that's probably it. I saw something that we had not anticipated, and it threw me into an instant reflex.
So my dad, in '94, created a history, and so he wanted to share that with you.
I would love to have that.
Yeah, so we made a couple of copies, and you said maybe you would have edited it differently for general population, but it's okay.
No. I feel that in somehow would be a unintended insult to our relationship, and if they know that this is what was done 24 years ago, then it will have more meaning, because it's a straight scoop.
Yep, well,
Yeah,
that's what,
I have
brutal
no,
honesty.
I have no
Go on.
shame. There's some things that I would like to have edited, you know, because that's gonna take you from the main road on a side road and so forth, and you really don't have to do that. But I want you to read the real Joe. Now,
No, I'd love to.
How do you feel? Are you in any pain?
no,
No pain.
no. Now later on, this will grow. It's kind of that point, and that will become not totally painful. It'll be about a 4, but its presence wants to be recognized all the time, and you just get tired. And then when it starts to pulsate, then I think it's time for some of the sublingual stuff that you get, you know.
When Dr. Hyatt said, "I think you might have lymphoma, Joe,"
Yeah.
and the first thing you said was, "I don't want any treatment. I'm not gonna get treated."
No, that was on the chemo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
either.
know at my age, all that does is just absolutely destroy what little future you
Yep,
have.
no, I'd rather
Yeah.
Yeah.
here, and do you spend the night, or are you good
Yeah,
back
I've been
and
here
forth?
since you guys were here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, once the hospital bed came and we kind of saw how much help he was needing. Yeah.
So are you staying in his room now?
His room is there.
Over there?
I have the office and an air
Ah,
mattress
okay.
and lots of fans.
Oh, nice. Oh, you sound like me.
Yeah.
I've got the windows open and it's 10 degrees out, I'm still too hot.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted her and Mark to have that, and she won't do it because she said that's your bedroom, your walk-in shower, you know, so she just won't do it. Spent the day yesterday rearranging a mattress flip and turn around, washed all of the stuff, and she said, "Dad, this is ready for anybody that wants to spend the night."
Good idea.
We haven't had any takers yet.
Well-
We might be charging too much. That might be it. Yeah. Maybe next week we might reduce the price. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, they'll go quickly at night because I'm an early sleeper.
That's right.
But anytime after 7:30, you know, I just go to the point where I can't lift them anymore, you know. And so we just call
Are
it
you
a
able to
day.
sleep through the night?
Huh?
Are you able to sleep through the night?
Oh, very well.
Oh, good.
But that Dex pill,
Steroid.
the first line of explanation of the pluses and minuses, it says, causes sleeplessness. And the first time I took one, the next night I did not sleep a single wink. The next night, beautiful. But I think that pretty much the system has kind of gotten into the rhythm and so forth, because we haven't had that every other night. I've slept, 3 or 4 consecutive nights. Yeah. No,
Better than me.
and sleeping well.
That's what I said.
I feel very fortunate. That's why I said, how can I be so darn happy when I am on my way to the deathbed, or something. I call it, I am on a mesa. I just don't know how far it is to the edge. Yeah.
Well, enjoy. I'd much rather see you happy than see you spending your last days
Yeah.
depressed and.
And I think I have impressed upon my family and a few good friends that it is best if you take life one day at a time and live it to the utmost. The yesterday is gone. We have no control of that. Tomorrow is yet to come. So live today by golly. Yeah.
Perspective. It's amazing how things can change.
Yes.
Change your outlook.
In this picture, it's you and Max. What is that BR on your sweater?
Broad Dribble High School.
Broad Ribble?
Yeah.
Ripple.
Ripple. And that's in Flora?
No, this is in North Indianapolis.
Okay.
And that's my football
okay.
sweater. And you'll probably see one orange stripe. I did it my junior and senior years, even though the last senior year was shortened. But that.
That was like a Letterman sweater. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't miss football because I wanted to graduate in January instead of June. So, yeah, that was Max. Yeah.
And that,
What
this
did
is
you got
Mr.
out?
Hoberman?
Max.
That's him.
Uncle
That's-
Well,
Al-
I think
Oh,
this
did he
was
serve?
an extra copy of.
Did you have a nickname, Dad, when you wore your bow tie all the time?
A lot of times they would call my counterpieces would call me Night, Sunday, and Holiday Hobie. And then-
Hobie.
Yeah.
That's an
Hobie.
And this was in Berwyn, Cicero, Illinois, which is about 85% Czechoslovakia, and a Hobie is mushroom in Czech, and this is one of their favorite fruits, and so the Hobie came naturally. The other one, we would have managers meetings, and I would answer something, and they say, "Why in the heck do you work all this time?" I like to play with the kids on Saturday and Sunday and so forth. I would say to them, I get paid by the month. I am not expected to work by the month. And so that's kind of where it came.
Now, when did your wife pass away?
August 20th,
23rd.
23rd?
Uh-huh.
Is it? Okay, in 2010.
And what did she die of?
About 3 things. Kidney failure, pneumonia, because she was intubated for so long, and We don't know what the third one was, but, they did not definitely specify.
So she had a small bowel obstruction, and they did a trial, and she did well with the NG in, and so they took it out, and she aspirated. And so then they went in and released the bowel, but she never recovered.
So she never got off the vent?
She never got off the vent. They trialed her. We got to see her a little bit when they took the vent out.
Yeah.
Remember when we went in and saw
You
her?
mean the tube?
Yeah, the tube, yeah. But she started going into BTAC, and so,
Oh.
yeah, so they re-intubated, and then her kidneys just weren't cooperating with fluid
Well,
overload.
She was a stage 3 or 4 kidney failure for years.
She was.
So that was just
Yeah.
waiting to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
Would
Too much
you say?
stress for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
beans.
yeah,
And her diabetes was, she was fearful of having shots of any kind. So she did it with a couple of pills and a complete change in diet. And,
But-
She's a pretty good motivator,
Yeah.
waving a needle in front of somebody.
sometimes, yeah.
She was a good grandma, wasn't she?
She was a great mom and grandma, and she really gifted us with writing out her advanced directives, didn't she? So
Yes.
we knew that what she wanted,
Yes.
so we didn't have to guess.
No.
So that was good.
All I
'cause-
had to do was put a date, because we sat down several times and wrote our own obits. So
Well,
I
that's true, too.
wanted her, what do you want to say? She probably told me, hey, Dad, what do you want to say? I tell you an interesting thing. We were in a condo in Fort Collins. We were probably, very close to having been married about 50 years. And when we would get the local paper, she was, oh my goodness, we lost another friend. And it would be somebody same age or younger. And I remember her sitting in the living room saying, one of these mornings, only one of us is going to wake up.
Oh, God,
And-
it's breaking my heart.
And I do not want to wake up with a time of when we just went to sleep. So I hope you will join me, or in words as I think. I will tell you, I love you every night, so that in the morning, it's good, it's good.
It is,
And,
yeah, sweet. And what happened yesterday, last night, right before you went to bed?
I closed my eyes.
The phone call you got.
Oh! Gosh, now, keep me from babbling and crying.
You can make it Reader's Digest.
Okay,
Okay.
this is large print. Her mate, they are not married.
It's
And,
Grace and her
Grace and
partner, whatever.
Daniel.
Daniel.
But boy, is he a bang-up father and husband. I think their love is deep and true. But anyway, I found out later that the reason for the call wasn't just being in touch. How are you feeling, Joe? Because this is our first phone call. He said, since Grace's father is not near at hand and I do not know him, is it all right if I ask you for your granddaughter's hand in marriage? And I said yes. This is wow.
That's amazing.
Made
I'm
your day.
glad you got to hear that.
Pardon?
I'm glad you got to hear that.
Oh, so am I. And I'm sure now that he feels relieved is that we beat the clock and we got that in there because this is an absolutely necessity in the conversation. And they're going to be married in the fall. Joey already has a wedding card.
The invitation?
I've already written them a note and so forth.
We did that last week. We did
Yeah.
a couple of legacy cards
Yeah.
for some big events that
What's
he.
the legacy card?
He's not gonna be around for some big events coming up, and so you just kind of predate it.
Oh,
And so at the time that they get married, if they were gonna get married, we didn't know, but that was kind of the plan.
Yeah.
So he kind of pre-wrote a card about on this day, on your wedding day.
oh, gosh.
I know. It's an amazing,
Wow.
it's actually an amazing, that it's a powerful process to write to people that will receive those cards after you're gone.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, but
Wow.
that's why I
Tearjerker.
say,
Totally.
honey,
Oh, we've
for
been following.
a long time ago, I could not do this alone. But you refine some of these things, you know, and, you don't have to write blubberly love things. Tell it like it is, they'll understand, you know.
Right.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I gotta show you, because you just can't imagine meeting.
Look at that precious baby.
Him meeting her was just an amazing event. It was just, it was.
That's here, yeah. 'cause
That's
there's the
here,
light.
yeah, these are really dark, but, I mean,
Wow.
When was that?
that was just incredible. That
Might have been
was,
too long, right?
February 1st. Yeah.
And how old's the baby?
What? What are you
She was born
looking at?
October 20th.
Oh, okay.
So just 2
The Iris and Papa Joe show.
Boy,
Now,
what-
is this Daniel?
That's Daniel.
Okay.
Yep.
He's a good looking guy.
Yeah.
She is a doll.
She's a doll. But he just,
Oh, yeah.
and she's a little flirt. She likes men. She likes men's voices, and boy, she just liked you, didn't she? Yeah.
Yeah,
She
we
she-
hit it off.
You hit it off. You guys became fast friends. And then Daniel went home, and my daughter stayed in Denver with us, and we came back up and had another long visit. We were here a long time that day,
Yeah,
and so you got your visits in, didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when did I put it on Facebook or you did that picture?
Yeah.
Boy, the grandmas around here had long paragraphs.
We posted that on Facebook, and he was just so excited to see, like a teenage girl, watching how many likes he got on that.
What's teenage?
Like, you were like a teenage girl, so impressed with how many likes you were getting on that.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, 100 and something. You were just,
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun. That was
Well-
funny.
This is Colorado Matters from CPR News. I'm Nathan Heffel. Only a fraction of those who served in the Second World War are alive today. That's why there's a rush to honor them. And last month, 5 Coloradans received France's highest decoration. They earned the Legion of Honor Medal for helping liberate France from the Nazis. One of those honored was Private First Class Joe Hoberman. He invited me and producer Stephanie Wolf to his Loveland home.
Hello,
Hi, you must be Joe.
I am.
I'm Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hoberman wore a dark baseball cap that said World War II veteran, and it was covered in military awards and emblems, some of which were once on his Army uniform. Even at 92, Hoberman's memories of the war are still very vivid. Born and raised in Indiana, he enlisted in the Army in February 1944, at the age of 18. He had graduated from high school just the month before.
I planned it. I went to summer school and took extra classes so that I didn't have to wait until June.
Why?
I wanted to go. We all wanted to go.
A thin, clear tube connected to a portable oxygen tank provides Hoberman regular puffs of air. He was first assigned to specialized training in military intelligence, where he learned things like Morse code.
And after that, I went for 9 more weeks of pretty intense infantry training because they didn't need those specialists anymore.
You switched from essentially kind of intelligence stuff to this infantry, to combat.
Yes. Well, I think they knew that I was a darn good shot. I had a rifle when I was about 13 years old, and my mother taught me how to shoot.
I want to talk about September 1944.
Okay?
You arrived in Normandy.
Yes.
The D-Day assault was June 6th of that year. What was on your mind as you landed at Omaha Beach, where just months before so many U.S. infantrymen had died?
The anguish that those guys felt when they landed, some never made it to the beach, it just weighs on your mind. It's something you can never forget. I'm not sure I want to.
You don't want to forget?
No, I don't want to. No, I want to still honor what those guys did. And if you could open my bedroom window, you hear me praying for them every night.
And when Hoberman first saw combat, his unit was ambushed by German soldiers.
They were firing their long-range artillery to the tops of the trees. When that artillery shell hits the top of the tree, it explodes, and then you get all that all that flak coming down. You get trees coming down. I mean, large branches of trees. It was mayhem. We had found a little ravine, and we were in there pretty much free from that. And we were able then to hold off from some advancing Germans that were coming up the meadow.
How long did the battle last?
Oh, that one about 30 minutes.
In the end, his captain, 4 lieutenants, first sergeant, and the company clerk died in the attack. Hoberman was assigned to recover maps and important information from the deceased. The Army didn't want those items falling into enemy hands. Venturing back onto the battlefield, Hoberman had a harrowing thought.
Why was I so anxious to be here? I think I kind of figured that I had bitten off a lot more than I could chew.
Now, were you able to communicate with your family back home
No.
during the war?
Well, we had V-mail.
What is V-mail?
That's where it was a fold-out piece of paper, and you write on it, and then the company platoon leader, the lieutenant, would go through and censor it.
Oh, to not give away where you were or something like that.
And certain things that I said, he just razor bladed them out. And my mother showed them to me when I got home. I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder what this was.
And he'd often go days without sleep, and it was bone-chillingly cold.
Don't believe all these things you see where you see long coats and all that, because it didn't happen. I had on exactly the same clothes that I left when I left basic training in August.
During that winter of December 1944, Hoberman fought in the Battle of the Bulge. It was a last-ditch attempt by Germany to split the Allied armies with a surprise attack in the mountains of northern France. It was one of the deadliest battles of the war.
In 24 hours, the initiative changed hands, and the German army, which had put the word blitzkrieg into all languages, unleashed its desperate offensive.
We were in a little town called Ben Weir, which is Alsace-Lorraine, north of Strasbourg. And we had to leave because you could just see hordes of people coming. And so this was not the place to put up a defensive front. So we had to leave there. And 2 days later, they carried me to the hospital because I couldn't walk anymore.
Cold and soaked through, Hoberman developed gangrene in his toes and was sent to a hospital away from the fighting.
My question to the doctor was, what's your prognosis? He said, I'll let you know in 2 weeks. And that's whether they start chopping off little digits or not, And as it turned out, that wasn't necessary. But it just meant inactivity for quite a while.
He was given the green light to return to duty, but saw little action. His next assignment placed him smack dab in the center of history.
The captain told me, you're needed in regimental headquarters. And I says, what for? And he says, they have a decoder machine there, and there is a German field marshal that is meeting with Colonel, whatever his name was, the regimental commander. And they are going to talk surrender terms. And we need to know what those are before we can say okay. So this is then up to you then, that if they have a message that we don't want to just go broadband, then you then will use your special tool to send a coded message, to Eisenhower, and I think he was in Paris then or someplace, and to get the okay. As it turned out, I didn't have to touch the machine. However, the next day, I'm back to my company. Captain Hawkins, heck of a nice guy, calls me in. I'm standing at attention. For once, he didn't say at ease. I stood there at attention. I went, wow. And he says, you had such an egregious act yesterday. I should probably court-martial you. I says, what on earth did I do? He said, you did not salute the German field marshal. And I said, absolutely not, sir. And he smiled, came up, shook my hand, and he said, that's all, soldier. Little humor. If you lose that, you lose everything. Yeah.
What was life like when you got home?
I would say it was very rewarding because I was discharged, I think it was May 20th of 46. But the first week in June then, I started my first class at Butler University in Indianapolis on the GI Bill. And that to me occupied my time. It was a dream come true. And, I would say, I hate a free ride, and somebody said, well, hey, buddy, you earned it, And you learn to accept that this is one of the perks that you got. But you always feel about the guys that didn't make it home, and women. We lost a lot of nurses in the field, in those field hospital things. An artillery shell is very indiscriminate.
But there were still big challenges following the war. One of them.
Wondering what I would do. I changed my major twice, and I was a little unsettled, yes.
Hoberman says it took him decades to truly get his bearings back. In 2014, he took an honor flight to Washington, D.C. It was a chance for veterans to see the World War II memorials there. Touring Arlington Cemetery, the rows and rows of soldiers' graves nearly overwhelmed him. A woman sitting next to him said, "You have survivor's guilt."
I had never thought about it, and that was a life changer.
How so?
I felt almost at ease with myself because it wasn't my fault that I made it. It was, I guess, just God's wish. I don't know.